All right. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Childish. We're back at it again. Next critical thinking series. This one is going to be arena and Guild War related. How do we coin this one? Give me a little shimmy. Let's see here. Know your opponent and identify the threats. Boom. Know your opponent and identify the threats. So this is for the people that have been have finally got over the hump, mid to late stages, got over the hump of Conquer and Conquer 1, and now they're trying to get into that Conquer 2, Conquer 3, and eventually Guardian 1. So, Conquer 1, as we stated in the previous video, moving into that from fighter, fighter to Conquer 1, and Conquer 1 to Conquer 2, speed is king. You can generally take out the majority of the teams that you fight or find, with a speed-based team, focusing on, max damage or crowd control. One of those two will get the job done. And, of course, if you can't find it, we have that lovely little refresh button on the top right to allow you to kind of cherry-pick your way to climb up. And then, of course, on the offensive side, Conquer 2 and Conquer 3, you're starting to find more tanky units where even if they don't have, or even if you have crowd control or speed, it's not enough, damage to basically, take them all out, or not enough crowd control to get it done. It's kind of one of those burst crowd control or burst damage right from the get-go, and it might be able to get, one unit down, but they might have something that will allow them to, replenish their unit and kind of stay back on the wagon, stay back on the horse. So, tank, the HP and the tankiness is very, very important. And then moving on into that Conquer 3 Guardian 1, having the, bonus of speed and tankiness with regards to your units, definitely, in addition to, having a great synergy, synergistic team, definitely changes the name of the game for you, makes stuff quite a bit easier. Even if the fight takes a little bit longer, you can almost take a team in there and kind of auto, because your team is so synergistic and has so much speed and hit points and whatnot. So this time around, though, talking about the offense, I kind of want to talk into that Conquer 1 to Conquer 3 range. Knowing your opponent and identifying the threat. So what does that mean? Back in the day, right, when we started out Fighter Conquer 1, we just see other videos. We make speed teams. We make, we stack our Lucians. We press the money shot button, as YDCB would say, and it's over, right? Well, Conquer 2, Conquer 3, you really can't do that. You have to fail. I can't even look at my my arena invitations because I just realized that I used them all. So let's go ahead and collect some so we can get this. Oops, fail. There we go. All right, so we're going to look at, basically we're just going to do kind of a rundown, look at like about 20 different teams and see if you understand what I'm talking about. So identifying the threat, and disregard my team, okay? Identifying the threat. Know your opponent and identify the threat. So, back in the day when we first started, we'd be like, oh, look at this. We got 2 fire, 2 wind, so let me bring my fire units. And maybe I'll bring like a Ramagos or whatever, like a wind tank, bring a leader, and just pummel it, right? Well, now, because you are in the mid to late stages of the games, you really need to not only understand your units, but understand their units, right? And as weird as this sounds, I know this sounds like, kindergarten level stuff, like look at your units. I still see time and time and again people setting up defenses that basically make no sense. And in addition, I see people showcasing a couple videos, offensively that take teams that generally make no sense. And it's funny because I kind of call out myself too. Sometimes you'll see me knowing what the opponent has, I still gamble with a particular set because I just want to see if I can do it. Very, very childish move. But that being said, I still understand the way the mechanics of the units work, right? So, kind of like looking at this, um, when you're trying to identify the threat here, the threat can be a multitude of things, depending on your current team, right? So if you weren't fortunate enough to get a lot of, tanky units in a wind element fashion or a different color than wind, you might be in trouble because a 40k Arnold is going to do anywhere from 13 to 14k extortion, and if you don't have enough wind units that are really tanky, then it's gonna be kind of hard to set up this team. So Arnold could be a threat. This guy can be a threat if your team is based on speed, right? So as you know, this skill limits the speed of all the enemies and allies, right? And you got this one has the opportunity to decrease the enemy's attack gauge by 10% when it's an attack. Now here's the funny thing about knowing your opponent. I personally think that I don't remember or recall the enemy attack gauge part. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I always understood the passive and not being able to attack speed. So this is not if your team is based on speed, right? Stay away from this initial setup because it's not going to be good. With this guy, getting the first turn and leveling out everybody's speed. This is not going to be good, especially if you're trying to go for the quick kill. Okay. Let's see here. Identify the threat. And here, we would have to classify this as two threats. Okay. We have ourselves our defense breaker, and we have ourselves the wind archangel. Okay, and why do we consider defense breakers a threat? Well, the defense breakers allow the arena defense team to focus on units on your team, if that makes sense. So once, right now, the wind unit's going to go for the, wind unit or dark unit. The dark unit's going to go for any of the units, and the Chasoon is going to go for the wind unit or the dark unit because it's neutral towards everything. It's never going to go for a weaker element before it goes for a neutral or strong element. Always going to go strong first, then neutral, then weak. Okay, when you have a person on a team that is neutral to all elements, and has the opportunity to have a 100% defense break, that allows this team to focus on whatever unit it defense breaks on this team. Okay, and I believe that's all units with the exception of the Archangel going for the fire, a weaker unit if they have the two here. So I believe it's for neutral to neutral or neutral to strong, okay? And the reason why that is so important is because all these units are not really too strong, but if you defense break somebody and allow all these units to have a target on one and focus fire one, they have an opportunity to kill your team, without too much issue, okay? So identify the kill threat. Kill threat is Darien right here, okay? Survival threat. The unit that's going to, basically cause you the most grief as far as self-sustaining the team. While Chasoon is a very high resistant, many ways of healing and keeping up units, the opportunity to revive obviously makes this one very, very strong. This one, even though you might take out this one, and this one's known for being a very tanky unit, this one here is another survive threat. So you got two threats, right? So when you're trying to look at these threats and thinking about what you're going to do, you kind of have to figure out what's the game plan, how you want to go about this, and so on and so forth. So, excuse me. For example, I might go for the defense breaker first, right? Because that would just make sense. But considering the fact that generally these units are not spec'd for damage, I still believe it's important to take out the defense breaker, no question. But I still might choose to go for, or start working on this one, and then get ready to switch to this one next, or vice versa. The reason being is, with my particular team being more fire burst damage based, I might have the opportunity to get this one out before this one necessarily does too much harm. And of course, if we're looking at this team where I provide immunity, right? I won't have any issues here. But that being said, defense break is the main thing here, and then the survival kind of comes next. The good thing about this particular unit is that you can utilize it to your advantage and take it out after it utilizes skill. So if this is a very tanky unit, you can get past its skill by allowing it to revive a unit, and um, and then its hit points goes down to current hit points. Or half his hit points gets deducted by half. So that's kind of important. Okay. The only thing to kind of add here is, again, I'm going to kind of point out just something to kind of get you thinking outside the box. Knowing your opponent, identifying the threat. So also knowing your opponent. From what we understand with this guy, he benefits off of speed. And if anybody's watched any of the videos out there, this unit has been spec'd speed, hit point, whether it's violent or swift. So generally, he sacrifices one of his 3 primary rune spots for speed. What that means is that this guy is going to be generally less hit points than this one and this one, because these all go for max HP. Okay, he might spec defense, right? But any smart archangel knows that this guy needs to have as much hit points as possible. These are gonna have tanky hit points. In my situation, if you're a team like myself, where you're rocking this or whatever, you got yourself burst defense or burst offense, and you're trying to get down sooner, you might be able to consider going for this unit, taking him out stupid quick, letting him revive, and then taking him out again. Okay, and finding the weak point in the team, and then taking him out over and over and over again, because you can take him out quicker than this guy can revive. All right. That being said, you play around with it, see how it goes. But no matter what, defense break, a neutral element defense breaker, should always be the primary threat. We got primary threat, secondary threat, right? But this might be a weak point that might allow you to kind of go over everything. Okay? Where we at here? I apologize. This might be a long video. I'm going to try to shorten this up a little bit. Identifying the threat. Threat here, truthfully, to me, only makes sense with Arnold. So if I have that being said, when you're in Conquer 2, Conquer 3, like I said, you're starting to progress into some of your 4-star, 5-star units that might be a little bit tanky, might be able to take a hit. You're obviously not going to go take Lucian into a fight with a Arnold that can extortion you, one-shot kill you, right? So set up your team to this advantage, and play your strengths and exploit their weaknesses. So identifying the threat. This team is utilizing the speed leader to enhance the speed of their Chloe. Okay. In addition, she does have a skill that allows her to put bombs. She does have a skill that allows her to blow up the bombs and do some damage, and she can put out some damage. But she shines when she has herself a bomber team. So is this going to be a real threat? Probably not. In my situation, I don't consider any of these, considering the units that I normally use, I don't consider any of these 3 a real threat. So for me, my focus on this particular fight is to go for a weak point. So in the back of my mind, I look at a team, I identify the threat, the primary threat, the secondary threat, and when I look at them, if they're not really strong threats, then I go for the weak point. Here's the weak point. Okay, in my opinion, when you spec an absurd amount of HP for this unit, and considering the units that I use for defense breaks, I find that this one is pretty easy to kill. And of course, I could defense break and go for this one, but he has a big hit that allows him to heal. So I prefer taking this one out, since he does provide group heals and provokes, which takes away my ability to put up my immunity, put up my buffs, so on and so forth. I think he's the weak point here. This could be controversial in such that this is when using fire-based units, that might be weaker, right? So again, though, it kind of comes down to how you look at it. This one is spec HP, so this one takes longer. But this one is going to be, depending on how they have it set up, they might, if they're trying to get the max out of their bombs, they're probably going to do a lot of fatal. get a lot of attack power here. So while they increase the attack, they lose out on the ability to have high hit points. So again, for me, even though I like to kill Almond there because I can't stand provoke, um, one might consider with the units that are fire-based DPS to go up for this one, because if this one's specking touch of damage to go to have strong bombs, while bombs may be strong, they might be weak, and that might make for an easier kill, especially if you have a defense breaker, fire-based defense breaker. Let's see. All right. Identify the threat. Yeah, buddy. This is a no-brainer here. We have two different threats. We have ourselves this one right here and this one right here. Okay. Now, one could make reason for pretty much anybody, right? But the thing of the matter is, with the amount of damage that a Perna can do, and especially with the current meta of Perna specking for violent, this guy can do an absurd amount of damage. And then in addition, because this they bring tons of DPS, and then a revive unit, one may consider this one more valuable than this one. But here's the thing that you're kind of forgetting. This one obviously provides heals, okay? But here's that identifying the opponent kind of aspect that I want to throw out. When you think about going for Brienne, it's like, hey, let me go for Brienne because Brienne can revive any of these units and keep them up. Well, keep in mind that this heal, knowing your opponent, means understanding the amount of heals that they could do, everything that they could do. While this heal is a group heal, 10% of all the HP's allies, while it has the opportunity to proc additional turns, is not a lot, considering that this unit and this unit is generally spec'd for CC or damage and then damage down here. So what that means is, while their strength can be damaged, they lack on hit points. So in this scenario, I personally like to go for one of the primary DPS units as a threat, and I obviously prefer the Fire Phoenix, just because he kind of just both of these could do a lot of damage, but Fire Phoenix to me is a little bit scarier than a Hua in this situation, depending on how good their runes are, and so I would take them out, let this guy revive, reducing everybody's hit points and balancing them out, take him out again, let this one revive, take him out again, let this one revive, take it out again, and so on and so forth. Okay, again, depending on how you have your team set up, you might have yourself a really strong tank to take this one, and then maybe Tyron as a threat, depending on your units. But the fact of the matter is that this is, while this looks good, sure, the self-sustaining aspect is not strong, because while this may be strong and have high resistance, these are weak because they're spec for damage. They're not going to spec resistance on these. So these can go out, these are squishy, take them out quick, let them revive, and let them keep on cycling until they have no health to deal. All right. Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay. Identify the threats. Boom. Let's get it. So in here, I really do like this team. It's a nice, well-rounded team. Double heals, double immunity, with the potential to, do some serious damage depending on how they have a spec. If he has a spec for damage, it'd be great. If he has a spec for CC, with an AoE, defense break, it can be good. Overall, this is a pretty strong team. Now, I probably would go about this many ways, because at the end of the day, and I'm going to talk about this at the end, we don't really know how units are spec'd, right? And that's the strength of violent runes, and unpredictability. not just violent rooms in general, but unpredictability. But you know that Chloe, right? Okay, no one's specking a fatal focus Chloe, right? Okay, so we understand what Chloe's going to be, but we don't know if this is despair violent. We don't know. I'm sorry, we don't know if this is based on defense or based on hit points. We understand that high speed, high hit points helps out for an immunity group monster, but the only one that we're certain about is this unit right here with the Rage Blade. We know that this one does an absurd amount of damage with this skill in when the defense is ignored when using invulnerable state, invincible state. So obviously, critically hitting is very, very vital for this one to do shine. So we know that this person is not going to do anything other than go for his Rage Blade on this setup here. Okay, you don't see fatal focus or whatever, right? This is always going to be a rage plus whatever runes to get your crit rate up. Okay, so for me, okay, because there's no revivers here, the initial threat is going to be Katrina. So no matter what team I bring, right, Bella is going to be in there somewhere. Okay, because I know that while this one's going to have the highest speed, this one's not going to have much speed because of the fact that he has spec for damage. Okay. In addition, identifying your threat. Hear me out, because this is important. This is something that people miss. This one is spec for speed, and this one, while we don't know, we need to expect the worst and hope for the best. This one should be spec for speed. Why? Why, Childish, should this one have, sorry, not spec for speed, but have a reasonably decent amount of speed subtests? I'm going to talk to you why. This here, the biggest mistake that people make, units that provide immunity, okay? Units that provide immunity, in addition to, units like Delphoy and this one that remove all harmful effects and grant immunity, only is valuable if it has a relatively decent amount of speed, more than the rest of the team, right? So it doesn't have to have a high amount of speed, but its speed needs to be higher than everybody else. Okay, with the exception of Chloe. Chloe is obviously going to be the highest, right? But remember, it's arena defense. You can't control what your Chloe does. So if Chloe misses, you want this one to be next because you want this one to cast the immunity. Why is that the case? If the opposing offense goes after your team and has tons amount of speed and locks your team down, you need a unit with a will set to block yourself from that immunity and remove everybody else's effects. How many arena grinding fights have you seen me bring this setup here? While it looks so stupid, I bring it into a team that has tons of harmful effects. All my guys get stunned. Veramos stuns, Tyron stuns with them, blah, 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 glancing hit. All of a sudden, I cast this spell, everything's cleared, and everybody else used their heavy CC hitters. So, a valuable point indeed. If you are rocking a Delphoy or a Veligil or another unit that provides immunity, it needs to be fast enough than the majority of your units so that it can remove the effect, if it can remove that, or provide immunity before the opposing team gets a chance to do the necessary damage to take you down. So again, primary threat, because this one is generally going to be the only strong DPSer, but we need to consider a secondary threat here because this has an AoE defense break, and when this does a defense break, all units focus on that, on the unit if it is neutral or strong against it. Okay? Boom. Let's get out of that one. Let's see if we can. So now I'm going to just do one or two more, but I'm going to try to find unique teams that I see. Okay, this right here, junk. Mind you, sorry if that's your setup, right? But I'm not. I'm trying to make a hot topic here, and I want to talk about something. So I want to talk about this one. again, we already understand defense breaker, and then we have, this one could be spec for damage. This one could be spec with a high amount of hit points. Why is that the case? Because this one heals every 15% or every turn for 50% of a hit point. So it can just be a self-sustaining tank. That being said, it's a single target unit. It's a single target unit, and you're not going to have any issues if you have the ability to focus it on a fire tank and, maintain life. So here's an example. I might do, if I were to do something, I would do something like this, okay? The immunity is there to prevent this one from provoking, this one from stunning, this one from defense breaking, okay? The defense break, burst damage, plus the leader's skill with the crit rate, high crit rate, buff, attack, and crit power is going to help me gnaw down Darien as soon as possible. Because at this team here, while this one can heal, it only can heal when harmful effects are placed on him. Okay, now I might be reading that wrong, right? But if you remove a harmful effect, that I probably said that wrong. So if you remove a harmful effect on anybody, he'll heal, but he'll only heal on him. Yeah, I think it made sense. He's not healing everybody else. Okay, so in this situation, knowing my opponent, knowing that this one may do tons of damage or may be self-sustaining, but knowing that he's only single target, I'm going to allow him to focus fire Rogue, because my unit can prevent taking damage for 3 turns, okay? And because I know my opponent, I know that there's no way that he can remove any beneficial effect that I put on my units. He has to deal for it. So this guy will never go down because I'll have this the high hit point unit here, plus the immunity and or a strong healer, whatever healer I bring, to keep this guy healed up. Okay, so take him out. Get him out of the way, and then go about choosing who you want to go from there. But obviously, because you can lock this one down here, that is great. The only reason why he might change to one of the other units if this guy gets off a defense break. So that's the reason for the immunity. Okay, boom, boom. Let's move down. Okay, here we go. So, another thing I like to point out here, identifying the threat. When you look at this particular team, what do you see? You see some amazing synergy when it comes to a tanky-ish, self-sustaining team. Okay? So, given my knowledge of these units, what they do, how they're spec'd, generally, I would think in this scenario that this one, the Occult Girl, can go one of two ways. She's going to be, the pure damage, attack, crit damage, attack, or more so like with a, blend of attack and hit points, or attack, attack, attack. And the reason why I say that is because this is based on the attack power. So chances are she might go in full attack just to get more bang for her buck on her heal. And maybe, speeds up stats and whatnot to get some speed on there. But again, we're speculating, but we're just going about our understanding of the unit, how they generally set up versus in an arena defense setting, so on and so forth. Right here, as you can see, this one here should be the kill threat. Why? Because it's the only unit that has the opportunity to provide a defense break. You can make reason for any one of these, but defense breakers are golden on the arena defense team as far as helping all these units focus on one. Okay, so I like taking this one out and then working out the rest. Probably this one, then this one, because this one's speed, hit point generally. So when it emphasizes speed, it lacks on hit points, relatively speaking, towards Jasoon and Chloe. So I like 1, 2, and then work on the other 3, or the other 2. Okay, I promise. Last one. Crit Millas. We see him time and time and again. I think so. This is kind of in a similar setting of the same team that we did where we provided Chandra in there to hug our fire base unit, because this one here is a single target unit, so it's going to be focused on the fire unit, and it's going to be focused on the fire unit, permanently. Reason being is because this particular team, your opponent, their skill set. While they have strong attacks, Camila and Arnold have strong attacks. They have no way of focus firing because they have no defense breaker. So what that means is utilize that to my advantage by bringing a unit that can hug this unit and keep Crit Milla busy. Bring a tank unit that can tank Arnold, or can tank Arnold's attack, and then whichever two you pick here, it really doesn't matter. You pick and choose what you want to do, but obviously one of them being a nice damage dealer, defense breaker will help get the job done. And then, of course, one providing the leader skill that will benefit everybody. Obviously not Corona here. I'll pick something else. Yes, so that's pretty much it right there. Locking on this unit and making sure that you provide a win-based unit that doesn't allow Arnold to take out in one shot. We'll get the job done. So here's the deal, though. Because this is the kill threat, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should go for him right away in this situation. And let me go ahead and point out. You have two healers, one of which has an opportunity to balance out the HP when the HP at this point is on. This unit, if you guys, everybody knows, right? But some people are new to the game, and check this out. Decreases the inflict advantage damage by half when you're attacked with a critical hit, and removes harmful effects. Additionally, recovers by 20% of the lost HP. Okay? That is huge. If you critically hit this unit, which in this stage of the game, you're speccing crit rate and crit damage on units, this unit is generally going to take only half the damage. Okay? And then, of course, in addition, it recovers 20% of the hit point. So this is a very, very strong unit, very, very strong unit. So my point is, while this one might be great to kind of go for it because it has so much self-sustaining power, in addition to two strong healers, you might consider going for a different unit, considering that they don't have a revive unit. Once you get one down, it kind of makes it a little bit easier, so on and so forth, to take them out, more so than not. Okay. And in addition, a reason why I point this out, this is the one thing that I'm glad we finished off of this, and this is the one thing that I think is going to tie this video all together, okay? Knowing your opponent, identifying a threat, knowing your opponent, we know that this unit is generally in the top end of the game, is spec damage, okay? Why is that? Because he has the opportunity to do an absurd amount of damage because of his crit rate skill, right? Right. In addition, if you notice, he is not the leader. Chloe's the leader. They put Chloe in there because Chloe provides a defense break. Okay? So what that tells me as the opponent, as the arena offense is, they want to utilize her skill to benefit everybody in this team, which means, in my opinion, if we were to run this right now, I but bet you 99 times out of 100, this unit is spec'd for tankiness, straight out tankiness. Why? Because they're not using this leader skill to its advantage. They're using this in a primarily tanky setup. Okay? Know your opponent and identify the threat. Now, here's the big whammy. Okay? Here's the big whammy. All that being said, everything I said right now means nothing until you get into the fight, okay? So all the top end Guardian players that are watching this video right now, if they're still watching this, they have probably already started providing constructive criticism on the comment section down below, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and clear the waters here when it comes to this things. All that being said, okay, we can know the opponent and identify the threat. But until we actually get into the battle, right, and start fighting him or her, we need to start with the plan and be able to have the team that allows you to make adjustments on the fly. Have a versatile team that allows you to make adjustments on the fly. Why I say that is because you get into the fight and you're like, okay, this unit is generally spec'd this way and that way. But that does not mean that they can't be spec'd any other way. While we understand what the common setups are, the reason why the people are at the top end of their game, not because they've got, the best units out there or the best runes out there, but because they have that knowledge and experience of fighting people in the high ranks and have different ways of setting up their team to create synergy. At the end of the day, it's all about synergy, and it will take you to high roads. Regardless if you have, the cutest units in the world, synergy carries you by a mile. So don't underestimate a unit, or don't underestimate the arena defense strength until you get in there and start to fight it. Because once you get in there and you're like, oh, this guy's spec Rageblade, bro, I'm going to take him out stupid quick. All of a sudden, he goes ballistic with, 4 violent spec units on the arena defense, and you have no idea what to do because you can't keep up with their heal per second, or you can't keep up with their damage per second, or you can't keep up with their crowd control per second. Okay? So, know your opponent, identify the threat, but be ready to make adjustments on the fly because anything can happen when you get in there. You have no idea how they have it spec'd. You're going by assumptions. So be ready because it's coming at you. That is it for critical thinking. Gosh, I really hope you enjoy this one because sometimes it's hard to get this stuff out there. If something didn't sound right in my head trying to explain it, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to make criticisms, put it out in the comment section below. I'm okay with that. We all make mistakes, right? So it's what we do to learn from those mistakes. I love this one. I love this topic. I'm hoping that you guys enjoy it too. Let me know by smashing that like button. Give me some feedback on what you want to see in the future. Boom! It's your boy Childish, Childish Plays, checking out. We will see you in the next Critical Thinking episode.